Good evening. I would like to call the Flint Board of, It's on. Oh, wait up. Testing, testing. Can you hear? Can you hear? Good evening. I would like to call the Flint Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. Board members, I call your name. Please reply present for the record. Treasurer Luna.
Present.
Trustee King. Trustee Rutherford.
Here.
Vice President Clack.
Present.
Trustee McIntyre.
Present.
Trustee Perkins.
Present.
And myself, Mike Neal, present. 6 present, 1 absent. The board will now hear comments from the public. We ask that you state the reason for addressing the board and that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes on matter within the authority of the board and not address individuals by name. The presiding officer of the board shall have the right to limit the number of persons who may address the board on the same subject. Please state your name and address first before beginning to speak. If you would like to speak, line up at the podium. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the board?
Good evening. I am Karen Christian, and I am the president of the United Teachers of Flint. $50.95 Exchange Drive. Flint students are in crisis. Yep, that's what I said, crisis. We have students who were affected by the water crisis, but that's not the crisis I'm talking about. The crisis that they're in is trying to learn in overcrowded classrooms. They're in crisis by not having certified teachers in every classroom. You know, the teachers who know their craft and know how to make a difference by teaching. My children who went here were lucky because they had a parent at home and a grandparent at home who could help them. But what about our students who don't have that luxury at home? What are we doing for them? It seems we're doing nothing. The settlement agreement would have allowed you to honor your teaching staff and entice new teachers to this district and to place them where you wanted to place them on the pay scale so our students could have certified teachers in front of them. There are several schools in this district that do not have a complete roster of certified teachers. Why? Because some of our teachers with great experience left for other districts to better pay and security for their families. Our students deserve the best. Our students deserve to not be in classrooms that have more students than tables, desks, and chairs. You need to right-size the district for their benefit and for their learning ability. By right-sizing the district, you reclaim money that you are using that you don't need to use. You need to sell buildings that need to be used for other purposes. Buildings are not generational wealth. If it is, I want my cut because I've been to school here from pre-K through 12th grade. Sometimes you need to sell old things to be able to get new things. Your spending should always be geared around the students. Lately, it doesn't seem that way. If 85% of your budget is centered around staff, then how in the world are we $14 million in spending deficit? How is the general fund at $55.5 million, but you can't restore teachers so your students can have certified teachers in front of them in every classroom? Why can we not attract new teachers to Flint? You need to think about that. We didn't cause this problem. This problem is caused by spending more than you bring in. We don't control that. We saved the district 10 years ago from being taken over, and we're still waiting to be restored. But as I have said before, whenever it comes to restoring teachers, all of a sudden the sky is falling. It's always what comes out. Do you think that you're the first to play this game? You are not. I always remembered when my parents in the 80s walked the picket line here in Flint when the teachers went on strike. I walked the line with them. I never thought we'd be back to no confidence in a school board, but here we are again. What are you to do? You can start by honoring the settlement agreement that we came to. Some of this board has tried to pit teacher against union. Do you see all of us here? We're all united. We want to be treated like professionals, not like something that came in on your shoe. We want to be able to retire with dignity, not retire and have to get another job because my 3 highest years weren't as high as anyone else in the state of Michigan. You were elected to your position by many of us. We voted you in, we can vote you out. Until you do right by us, there will always be no confidence, no trust.
Bruce Jordan. I represent the United Teachers of Flint. My office, their office, is 5095 Exchange Drive. We're here again. You guys, most of you guys ran last year on the platform that you're going to be fiscally responsible. You got 40 buildings, 20 need to be maintained. You have properties. You have a board member it's all about generational wealth. The anchor is sinking your ship. I told this administration a year or so ago, before all the ESSER ARP funds started coming down the pipe from the government, that we cannot allow you to drop one brick on the backs of our teachers any longer. Four of you campaigned for the restoration and the fiscal solvency of Flint schools. If you don't do something soon, they're not going to be here. They're leaving in droves. Now we've heard, we can't get a reason. We've asked. We were drug around for 2.5 months. But the board members are talking to the public about why. That, every teacher wasn't included, so that we're not going to enter this. Did you even look at the data? The answer is no. Absolutely, unequivocally not. The time is now. You've seen the press releases. This group is done. We have supporters, not only from MEA headquarters, watching you. Legislators, the governor, Swartz Creek schools, Clio schools, Carmen Ainsworth schools. All the superintendents have called me. You have a choice right now. You can either get in the boat with us. You can either get in the boat with us and start, paddling in the same direction. Or within a year, there won't be enough staff to educate our kids. I came from Flint. I worked in Flint. I was absolutely devastated when I kept getting laid off every year for 10 years in Flint. And I am absolutely 100% honored to stand here and represent the teachers that I taught with for all those years. When are you gonna honor them? I can't wait for your rationale. We're all listening.
Nadia Rodriguez, 1610 East Court Street. While I'm disappointed in the vote to reject the settlement agreement by this board, I am by no means surprised. I've heard repeatedly in these meetings and various podcasts that this board is not at fault, that current problems were created by boards of the past. While there is some truth in that statement, it does not address the very real problems exacerbated by the continued dysfunction of this board and administration. It is well documented that staffing vacancies are wreaking havoc on the district, but most importantly, on our students. Last year, when 2 of my colleagues left the district, not only were their positions not filled, they weren't even posted. It was brought to the attention of the superintendent multiple times and even had to be addressed by the parent group this fall. I watched as the students in those classrooms went without proper instruction for months. Some days they'd be in the hall in front of locked doors because there wasn't a plan for coverage. As many of the schools, not all, in the district are currently in a partnership with the MDOC regarding academic achievement, I will ask you again, how do you expect our students to increase achievement when they are left without a certified teacher to deliver content? Let me be clear. The teachers did not vote no confidence in their schools, curriculum, or their peers. They voted no confidence in you. You all know my story. I've always been proud to have been a product of the Flint Community Schools. It was my dream to be a part of this staff, build relationships with students in my community, and to be the support they need to achieve their dreams. For 5 years, you failed to provide curriculum and materials for my students. For 5 years, I was left on step 1 of your pay scale. For 5 years, I worked in a building without proper access to water, supplies, heat, air, and internet. I filed a grievance last February that was ignored by the district. You left me and many others just like me no choice but to seek employment elsewhere. Even after I left, when I was asked for assistance, I went back to those classrooms and tried to support the students in my former program, a program that didn't have a single certified teacher in 3 of its 4 classrooms, and is still without the curriculum and materials necessary for the students to learn. This week, a board member said the quiet part out loud, and I quote, "I'll say this, as soon as we open up with them, all the other unions are gonna come. We can't afford to raise everyone at once." The district and board's operational deficit spending is your own doing. You have not completed a plan to consolidate and close school buildings in ratio to current student enrollment. You have not offloaded abandoned buildings and properties. You have not honored the very platform that 4 of you ran on, the platform I amplified in my community because you told me that it was going to be a priority, your priority. What you have done? You've spent several thousands of dollars on frivolous travel expenses for yourselves. You've continued to come to meetings unprepared, resulting in continuous need to make uneducated and irresponsible decisions. You are slumlords. You contribute to the daily blight in our city. You are attempting to right this ship without accurate information, without looking past this hour, and you are doing it on the backs of the very people who have sacrificed the most over the past decade. You have put this dedicated staff through hell. They have done their due diligence, and this agreement was designed to address the current and very real recruitment and retention crisis. The cost increase, as compared to the 22-23 school year, is nominal and insignificant. For once, just once, do the right thing and accept their agreement.
Thank you, Nadia. My name's Emily Dorr. I live at 411 West 1st Avenue, and I ran with 4 of you. And it would have been my honor to serve on this board and support teachers, which is what we talked about month after month after month, campaigning together. And I believe in you. I believe in all of you. But shame on you for not supporting teachers. Without teachers, you don't have schools. At least go into closed session, make a decision, come back and offer a response to them. They deserve that. That's what leaders do. Don't come back with nothing to offer, no negotiations, nothing. Make this a dialogue. This is a partnership. And I believe in all of you, all 7 of you. I believe in those of you who have been teachers, because I know a few of you have. I believe in those of you who went to Flint Community Schools, because I know a few of you have. Even those of you not looking at me right now, I believe in you too. Because I think it's important that all of you remember, you do not have schools without teachers. Certified teachers, thank you, I appreciate the reminder. So while it would have been my honor to serve with you alongside, that did not happen, it's okay. I believe in all of you to make the right decision to support teachers. And I know it's not easy. I understand all of you have a very hard job, and you have to do very hard decisions around closing schools, getting financial burdens off your books, but you need to do it, and not on the backs of teachers. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kotika Easton. I'm a parent for my child at Nethercutt Elementary. And I support the teachers as well. I talked to the teacher as well, letting her know. I stay at 1926 Lynbrook Drive. And I let her know as well, I don't like charter schools for my daughter. Everybody migrates to the charter schools. I don't like that. And I see that y'all wasted money on doing a driveway, the parking lot for Nethercut. Now y'all ready to shut it down. We don't want that in our neighborhood. Because what happens? You don't sell them off back. They come in and vandalize them, so you're wasting money with citizens' tax dollars. You're wasting the money, and I feel like that is wrong. And it's other issues too that I'm upset with the Flint board. I made a complaint as well. But as far as Nethercut, I hope that y'all consider to keep that school open as well as the other schools with the certified teachers, because I don't like charter schools at all. And that's it.
Hi, my name is Dina Ashworth, and I'm a teacher here at ALA, and I've been here since '98 with the Flint Community Schools. My pay has been frozen since 2014. I have family members who have just become teachers in other districts who are making $71,000, and they have less education in teaching than I do. 71, I could go to another district and get 71 if I chose to. I'm a math teacher. I am the only math teacher at ALA, the only. If I left, this building would have no one to teach them math. I don't know if you understand that concept or not, but it's huge. You cannot afford to lose me when I have been working for you since '98. I've given my life to Flint Community Schools and the children. I've hugged you. I've hugged you. Not too long ago, when I lost my principal for a short time, okay? I'm trusting you, all of you. I've given you my love through the children. You committed, all of you, committed to us in September. You committed. You gave us high character with your word. You signed off on it. If that is not high character, you following through with it is the high character. You didn't follow through. That's such low character. How can you teach our kids character when you yourself don't even follow through with the commitment? You let us on for 3 months. 3 months. I am a human person. You let me on for 3 months. You told me I had something I deserved, I worked for. And you've taken it back now. You said it was mine. I worked for it, you gifted it, you signed off on it, now it's gone. 19.5. 19.5 years is if you took that money that you got saved for us right now, and you gave us the money, our steps back, it would take 19.5 years to get all that money out of there. I won't even be around. You'll have more money to pay other teachers. Give us our steps. How long have you guys been here? None of you guys have been here past at least 2 years. Not one of you. I'm the reason why this district, we are the reason why this district is the way it is. It's not you. We deserve what you said. Re-energize the pride. Get him.
My name is Debbie Ronaldo Hopkins. I live at 1008 South Gill Road, Davison, Michigan. I've been with the district since 1987. Okay. I'm a second-generation Flint teacher and the mother of a teacher in another district. And I would have loved to have my daughter come to this district, but you've got to be kidding me. She will surpass me in pay, and she's been teaching 5 years. I've been at the top of this pay because I have worked that many years. I want to speak to Nadia Garcia that left here. I taught across the hallway from her. I know she's a good teacher, and we lost her. Why? Because of pain. She has children to support. There's no reason why we lost a teacher like that. Give me a reason why teachers want to stay. Don't you dare tell me we owe it to these children. I have given my life to these children. My father gave 41 years to this district. I love these children. I have stayed through the tough times like all these people in here. Don't you ever question the loyalty of these Flint teachers, because they are more loyal than many districts. We have sat through water crisis. We bought our own supplies. A board member looking at me right now came to my classroom and saw how I had to decorate my room and tape my windows shut and was going to do something about it. He ain't shown up since then. And now we're doing that in our room. I paid for that duct tape out of my pay. I paid for furniture out of my pay. I paid for supplies out of my pay. And I deserve that payback. And you think, give me a reason why these teachers should not go to the other districts. These other districts want high-quality teachers. What do they want? Flint teachers, some of the best teachers you will find in Genesee County, and it's been proven for years. For years. And years ago, we had a good old boys system where they wouldn't, the districts wouldn't take. Believe me, they're coming after us. And what they want to do, Debbie, come to our district and bring a friend with you. So look in mind at that evaluation again, that agreement again, and come back and know what we deserve, because you are going to lose some of your very best teachers. And if these were your children, if the teachers just were your children, would you have them stay and get less pay? We're talking difference of $10,000 and $15,000 difference a year. So think about that first, and about that agreement that you agreed upon already. And think about all these people in the room who are taking care of these children every single day and for 37 years.
Are there any more comments? If there's no more comments, we will move to the next agenda items. I really appreciate your comments. So is Ms. Field gonna do this here, thing right here? 'Cause, or do we want to do the statement now? Attorney Garden, could you come here? Is this the time to bring him? Attorney Garden, do you want him at the table? Ms. Perkins? Okay, not right now. That's okay. That's okay, we're gonna let Ms. Perkins. Okay. Ms. Perkins, could you proceed? Okay, we need to come to order. Ms. Perkins?
Yes. The school district of the city of Flint, the district, wishes to formally notify the media that all interviews regarding the Unified Teachers of Flint Board of Education grievance settlement agreement will be canceled until further notice. While the district appreciates that several news outlets are providing the district with a chance to share its side of the story regarding this matter, the district will defer to the Board of Education. At the February 14th...
Excuse me, Ms. Perkins, this is the statement, sorry.
You gave me the wrong one.
We didn't have the statement.
You gave me the wrong one.
Okay, audience, ignore that we didn't have the original statement. Y'all changed the statement. Sorry, Ms. Perkins.
Okay, Board President Dr. Joyce Ellis McNeil's statement. The school district of the city of Flint Board of Education rejected the proposed tentative grievance settlement agreement between the school district of the city of Flint Board of Education and the United Teachers of Flint MEA/NEA. While the board appreciates working collaboratively with the UTF, the board must be fiscally responsible. At the November 8th, 2023 board meeting, the district's chief financial officer, Shanda Cleaves, shared that the district has a $14 million and structural deficit, and this tentative grievance settlement agreement will only add to that structural deficit. After careful consideration, the board has decided that the current $14 million structural deficit means that this grievance settlement agreement cannot be approved by the board at this time. The board wants to retain its teachers with a competitive wage scale and demonstrated its commitment to UTF employees by approving the 2022-2025 UTF Board Master Agreement, which contains steps. According to our previous chief financial officer, the cost of placing teachers on a new wage scale was $1,339,117. And the board also agreed to move UTF employees from the 2018 hard caps to the current hard caps, which amounted to $483,133. In addition, costs to the district. As a result, the board has established a proven track record of increasing wages and health insurance benefits over the past few years, but there are limits. The UTF employees received a step on August 1st, 2023, in the amount of $900,007, $962.55, and will receive a step on August 1st, 2024, in the amount of $900,046, $550. The board offered to settle this matter by offering another step to UTF employees, which would mean UTF employees would receive 3 steps in 1 calendar year, but the offer was rejected. The board stands by its decision and hopes that UTF reconsiders its position so the parties can work cooperatively over the remainder of the year.
Thank you, Secretary Perkins. At this time, I would like to ask Ms. Field to come forward to introduce our scholars and proceed with the presentation on the Lakota Community Outreach Trip. You want them to come up?
I'm Jada Jones.
You guys, you can come up.
We're going to have you guys come up.
That's fine.
So board, before we seat them, I'd just like to go ahead and introduce to you the Accelerated Learning students. They're here to present to you today on their Lakota trip that was in conjunction with the Kettering University and Dr. Sullivan. And I'm going to move out the way and just let them go ahead and present to you.
All right. So, during the September. What's your name? Hi, I'm Maya Horn.
And I'm Jada Jones.
Thank you.
I'm Miss Karanka. I was their chaperone.
So in the month of September, me and 3 other friends, we took a trip to Lakota in South Dakota. This trip was a wonderful experience that I am grateful to have experienced with the teachers in this community. So when we were down there, we got to experience another culture that we were not familiar with, and we've got to learn about their culture, and we were down there celebrating along with their culture. So in this slide picture, I'm gonna read you a little bit about their culture. We are not Indians and we're not Native Americans. We're older than both concepts. We are the people. We are the human beings. So this is a little bit of their culture I'm going to explain to you. The Mitakuin Oyasin means we're all related. Children go through ceremonies to welcome them as adults. The girls are the leaders and the boys perform a sun dance. The youth are considered sacred beings or Wakanasias. Each child has a special naming ceremony and all people are loved and accepted. LGBTQ+ are winged. That means they have 2 spirits. There are no orphans, which there means 100% adoption rates. Everyone is seen and celebrated. There's a NAMI, or a Native Grammy, celebrates music. So during these pictures that you see are a couple of our speakers. They spoke to us about their language in different standards and different forms, but as we learned about them, they were giving us a picture, and that picture was that we're all related and we've all been through different struggles as people, but while we're down there, we were able to bring those together and celebrate them while we were down there. So here's some of the modern understandings about their culture. They live in the poorest county, which is average to $8,768 per year. They have been the target of mass genocide, which is their grave on the right. Their life expectancy is 47 to men and 52 to women. There are a lot of addiction, even though alcohol is illegal. Grocery stores are so far away that they mostly eat gas station food. Winters are very cold, and people do die while they're down there. Teen suicide is the highest in the world, causing a state of emergency to be declared. There's a long list of missing Lakotas that no authorities are looking for. The Assimilation Project, which was in 1879 to 1974, that still affects the community. Many treaties were broken, include taking back Black Hills from the tribe when the gold was found there. So here's some of the community service we did.
While we were down there, we did a lot of community service. We helped build decks. We helped build outhouses. We did a little bit of gardening. We also helped build bunk beds, and some of the things we found out, a lot of the things that we help build, when it gets cold in the winter, they have to burn. So they like people to come down to help continue to build that stuff because they have to, because they burn it in the winter.
So we were partnering with Kettering with some of their college students. As you see in the pictures, while we were eating and fellowshipping with each other, and we were down there exploring and living and smelling the wonders of different culture. And then here's some of the pictures of South Dakota with the different animals, different bugs, the sunshine.
The things I liked the best were the mountains because I've never really seen mountains, and it was something new for me to experience and get to see.
And then here's some of our favorite road trip memories. We all went out to a restaurant and we enjoyed ourselves. We've seen the windmills, and we've seen Iowa 80.
Yes, I'm actually from Iowa, so it was nice to go through there again.
All right, thank you so much.
So, thank you, board, for taking the time today to listen to our young people, and thank you for supporting them in this particular trip. It truly was a life-changing experience for them, and so glad that they were able to engage with that.
Thank you, Ms. Field. Thank the students for the presentation. Did any board member have any questions she left before we finish? Ms. Fields, did they have questions? And
So, Mrs. Fields,
Yes, ma'am.
I know that Dr. Sullivan has done, this is a trip that she takes every year.
Yes, ma'am.
And she's indicated that she would like to see the program expanded, would like to see it as something that is annual, that happens every year, and has indicated that there is cooperation with Kettering University. I know that you're aware of this. I just wanted to say that out loud and to say that the board wants to, or I would like to, and have the rest of the board support this activity as much as possible, because there are ways to get funds to where it doesn't necessarily have to come out of the district. And as you can see, this is an invaluable learning experience that we really are lucky and unique to have someone of Dr. Sullivan's caliber who's been going consistently and has just developed a connection with the Pine Ridge community. Leonard Peltier is still incarcerated, and the Lakota community is encountering tremendous difficulties that are very similar to Flint in terms of their water being undrinkable and poisoned. And so there's so many similarities and differences that we could really, this is what education is about. This is what is really invaluable. And because we have our Flint community and the connections that we do, this is something that no other school district has.
And I agree with you, Dr. McIntyre. The young ladies, this was an invaluable experience for them, and anything that we need to do to proceed and continue this programming going forward is absolutely on the docket. This work is built upon the work that they've been doing at ALA in regards to the water crisis and their own water warriors. They've been participating in creating filters to filter air as well, and so they've been learning a lot of things around the science of the water crisis as well as the humanitarian efforts, and then building relationships with communities where they can share their knowledge. The idea that Dr. Sullivan has is to branch this out, and that maybe not just with that particular location, but other locations that suffer from water crisis and lead poisoning as well. So thank you again for your support, board.
Vice President Clark has a question.
Yes.
I just wanted to say before she left, Jada Jones is my little cousin, and I wanted to say how proud I was that she was up here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and thank you to Dr. Sullivan for her year of what she was doing.
The girls, it was an amazing event for them, and them coming back for it and being able to share with us and engage with us around the things that they learned. But the more important, one of the more important things I think that is that they got to experience here is that the possibilities for employment, for the vocational opportunities, and learning about all the different aspects of how it is that we can tend and be good stewards for our water, and the things that they can do with the knowledge that they're gaining in these experiences as well. So thank you.
I don't even know. Thank you, Ms. Field, and thank you for your scholars and for a wonderful presentation. As we move down to our new business action item, I now turn the floor over to Trustee King for Human Resource Committee of the whole portion of the agenda.
All righty. I would like to call the Human Resources Committee of the whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
Greetings, Board. I seek a motion and a second from the Board to move Resolution 1.2, Personnel Recommendations, to the regular Board meeting on February 21st, 2024 for adoption.
Is that been properly moved? I mean,
I got it.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, you're chair. Thank you.
Is there a motion
I
from my
make a
colleagues?
motion. I make a motion
I'll
that we
second.
move 1.2 personnel recommendation to the regular board meeting.
All right, there's a motion on the floor,
I'll second.
supported by Vice President Clack. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, roll call. The motion on the floor is to move item 1.2 to the regular board meeting. Roll call, we'll start with Treasurer Luna,
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford. Yes. Vice President Clack,
Yes.
President McNeil,
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Myself, Trustee King, yes. Motion passes 7-0. In your packet, board members, you will see retirements and resignations. Is there any question? Are there any questions? Thank you, Superintendent Jones. Seeing no further business, I declare the HR Committee of the Whole adjourned.
Thank
I now
you.
turn over to Treasurer Luna.
Thank you.
Everybody, good evening. I would now call the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 7:12 p.m. I will now call on Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
I seek a motion and a second from the Board to move Resolution 11.13, approval to replace doors and frames at Eisenhower, to the regular.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve 11.13.
All right, the motion has been moved. Is there support?
Support.
All right, it's been moved by Trustee King, supported by Secretary Perkins. Is there any discussion?
Nope.
All right, seeing no further discussion, the motion to move Resolution 11.13, approval to replace doors and frames at Eisenhower, to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote.
Mr. Chair, I
Hold on.
made a motion to approve.
Well, you moved for it to be approved and she supported it. Then I sought discussion. There's no discussion, so
Your statement was to move to the next meeting. I made a motion to approve.
oh, to approve tonight?
Yeah, that's that. I
Okay,
made a
I'm
motion to
sorry.
approve.
So the motion was to approve tonight, 11.13. It was supported by Secretary Perkins. Is there any discussion? It's for tonight. All right, seeing none, I will conduct a roll call vote to approve 11.13 for tonight's approval, which includes the approval to replace doors and frames at Eisenhower. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Trustee Rutherford. Yes. Trustee King.
Yes.
Vice President Clack.
Yes.
President McNeil. Yes. Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre. Yes. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
And myself, Treasurer Looney, yes. The motion passes 7-0. All right, at this time, I would invite our CFO, Mrs. Cleaves, to join us for the quarterly financial report. Mrs. Cleaves.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to talk to you tonight about the Shared Business Services Quarterly Fiscal Update. So the purpose of this quarterly report is to provide the Flint Community Schools Board of Education with an update on the Shared Business Services collaboration with the Genesee Intermediate School District. On tonight's agenda, I'll be talking about our grant budget update, a long-term debt analysis, and an ESSER update. The purpose of the grant budget update is because grant allocations were not included in your Budget Amendment 1, and the reason being various factors. Final expenditure reports were completed. We had to budget for carryover, and the number of funded slots is unknown until your grant period ends and notifications are received. I'm gonna go to the next slide when I. Okay. The listing here shows the grants that will be added to your Budget Amendment 2, which will come before the board in April. We have a 21H partnership agreement for $867,522. Your Great Start Readiness Program, which is GSRP, carryover of $174,721. Your GSRP allocation for 23-24 of $1.2 million. Your Section 35A5 carryover, which is your Early Literacy Additional Instruction Grant, $25,103. Your 23-24 allocation for 35A5 of $66,088. Your Regional Assistance Grant, which is the RAD grant, $165,182. Your title grants, Title I is $13 million.
Ms. Cleaves, in looking at your 35A5 and 35A5, 2023, 2024, that 25 is added to the 66.
No, it's separate.
It's
The
separate.
first one is your carryover from the 22-23 year, and
Okay.
then you have a separate allocation for 23-24.
I guess my question, can that be used?
Yes.
Okay, so what comes out of this? I see literacy. What is coming out of this? What can be paid out of this grant? I'm actually gonna ask that for all of them. I
Okay.
know the 21A, I know HR can use that. I think I heard that today. So
I will have to provide you that
you can
information.
provide
I don't
that to
have
me.
it tonight.
How soon can you get that to me?
I can get it to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Well then, all right, go ahead.
Okay. Uh-oh.
We're having a technical issue. To those of you who are in the audience, just give us one moment and we'll start right back up.
Madam President? While we're having this technical difficulties, I would like to make a motion.
I would remind my colleagues too that we're currently in so a couple things. We're currently in the FINAP COW meeting.
Oh.
And just, when you guys do speak, just seek recognition. You didn't do anything wrong, you didn't know that, so.
Yeah, so, Master Chair, or do you?
No.
But we were about to dismiss Attorney Gardner, and before he leaves, there is something that I'd like to address before he leaves. So is he leaving, or is he going to stay? Because
I would defer to Mr. Jones, to Mr. Gardner, to answer that question.
He was about to leave, but he can stay if the board wants him to stay. Board?
Is that a vote?
There currently is no motion on the floor, so unless there's a motion, we're still in our quarterly update. I'd like to make a motion to seek recognition by the chair.
He'll stay, he said.
Okay.
He just said he was gonna stay.
In, point of information, in the middle of the chair, did you just say that he could leave? I mean, because
I want to remind my colleagues, one trustee has the floor. If you would like to seek recognition and wait to be called upon. Continue.
that was the point of information.
Okay.
Then I asked the question. Do,
Well-
do you want me to continue? Okay, so.
You had the floor.
I do have
and
the
then
floor?
there's kind of side conversations. So, I mean, if you're done.
I'm sorry, I'm totally confused about what's going on.
You sought recognition from the chair. I gave you the floor. For a few moments, there were side conversations. You still have the floor unless you yield it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I would like to make a motion that the board requests for Troon Law Firm under Attorney Gardner to file an unfair labor practice against the UTF for their statement that they released to the press today, because it is plagued with inaccuracies and also based on the comments made by the public that showed that there is a lot of misinformation and mistruths being discussed in public. So my motion is that we have Troon Law file an unfair labor practice against the UTF, that they're not bargaining in good faith.
There's been a motion made on the floor. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair.
Trustee King, so before I call upon you, so there's been a motion made. I'm not going to repeat it because it was very long. It's been seconded by President McNeil. Now we're in discussion. Trustee King.
Attorney Gardner, do you want to come over here, or you want to stay right? Yes, I'll come over. Okay.
We're gonna pause, Ms. Cleaves.
Yes,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Ms. Cleaves, if you want to come back, there's been a debate, and now there's a motion on the floor, so you can come back over here and come back to you.
First I would like to say, sorry, Ms. Cleaves,
Apologies, Ms. Cleaves.
yeah, I really wish you would have finished. That was some good stuff in there. But to your Attorney Gardner, in your legal expertise, is that the motion?
You can file an unfair labor practice charge as a public employer. If you have facts that show that the public labor organization has acted in bad faith bargaining. So, for example, if you find that during bargaining there's evidence that they've engaged in bad faith bargaining, you can file an unfair labor practice charge under the Public Employment Relations Act.
So I appreciate the overhead. I'm looking for what constitutes, like is there specific language in the MCL or
Like I mentioned, if you engage in bad faith bargaining, for example, you're supposed to engage in good faith bargaining when you're bargaining contracts. So if there's evidence that shows that you have engaged in bad faith bargaining, for example, if you made misstatements that led someone to detrimentally rely on a statement when they're bargaining, then arguably you could say they're engaging in bad faith bargaining. You can file that with the Michigan Employment Relations Commission, and then the commission reviews it and will decide whether, in fact, they'll assign a MERC judge. The MERC judge then goes through the process of scheduling a hearing and that sort of thing. That's what happens. That's the process.
Would you recommend us do that?
There has to be evidence, and that's the key. So if there was something that was released earlier today, but there may even be more evidence that would allow you to take that step. So I would say before you put public dollars, and use those public dollars, you want to make sure that you're using them in a fiscally good way and you have evidence to support that. That's what I always say. You want to make sure you use your funds properly.
Thank you.
So I hope I answered your question.
You get that lawyer. It's good. It's good.
Yes, because yeah, just trying to make sure, because, can I just say this? That there's no, before you take action, especially under the circumstances we're under, you want to make sure that you've had time, everyone's had time, to review and consume everything before we take a step. There's nothing wrong with letting a couple of days go by. You might find additional information. So I say, let's just say it's on the table and you're considering it. Maybe you go back and address it at the upcoming meeting when you have more information. That makes it more, what's the word for it? May make it more powerful. So I know we all want to sometimes take action, but sometimes it's best to proceed with all the information you have and then make a decision as a board as a whole and give yourself the chance to actually review all that information. So I hope I've given you kind of, you know.
Yeah, Attorney Gardner, there was one more trustee who wanted to speak. She may have a question for you. Go ahead.
I guess for me, for clarification purposes for me, I was under the impression that there was no negotiation based on the steps. So I'm confused. I was totally confused when I heard all this information because it wasn't it was no negotiations. Am I correct in that? Am I understanding?
There was no negotiation. What was happening, so that's kind of what's, again, there's a current unfair labor practice charge that has been filed against the district and the board. So I don't want to go into details about that.
You don't have to.
Because
I guess for me, that's where my confusion came in, because if that wasn't the case, how could that even be filed? Don't answer that, but just saying that to you. Okay, that helps me. Thank you.
Yes.
Vice President Clack.
So, Attorney Gardner, how you doing?
Yes, doing very well.
So, what do we do now? Because as an educator, you know, I was kind of overwhelmed with what happened today. You know, I stand with the teachers, but it's being perceived as if, you know, we all turned our backs on the teachers, and I don't like how that perception makes us look, and me especially. What do we do now?
You've already issued a statement from the board outlining your position on the issue, which I think was a good position to take right now because you provided your facts and you shared your facts with the public as opposed to being silent. The next thing is, I don't know that we would say anything else in public because there is that pending unfair labor practice charge, and anything you say will be then used in that proceeding. So I think you've laid out your statement, you're in a good position, and if you want to take additional steps, maybe that should be addressed in closed session, is what I would say.
Would that, I'm sorry, this is my last question. Would us filing a lawsuit, would that be viewed as retaliatory, or would that be even?
You know what? Let's just address that in a closed session letter because we're getting a little too deep. I think if I go a little further, I don't want my, because this is actually being taped. So I think let me just stop there.
Yeah. Well,
Hold on.
Yes.
Yep. So what I have to ask you is a clarifying question, just for what you stated, and it should help us all. Are you stating because of the situation we're currently dealing with, we should have no conversations with the UTF at this time, whether it's myself, any of my administrative team, any board members? Are you stating that we should wait until we have all spoken and had a closed session? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, let me just, because I want to provide a little nuance to this. You're going to have day-to-day issues that are not related with UTF regarding this matter. Now,
I'm saying related to
this.
This, yes, related to this. I'm asking are only related to this. I'm not talking about normal joint labor management.
Yes.
I'm not talking about day-to-day operations. I'm only speaking about the current situation with our UTF settlement
Yes.
agreement. I just want you to clarify.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
We should have no further comment other than the public statement that's been issued. And that statement can be submitted to the union just so if they have, if they're just here, they heard it, but you can actually give it to them at this point. But that says everything for our position on that issue. If we, yeah, I think I'm going to stop right there.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to take the floor for a second. I'm going to address the wider issue, but then I'm going to address the specific amendment. Number one, I want to be clear in my comments. I want to amplify what Attorney Gardner said. Public comment means emails that are foilable, text messages that are screenshotable. You're speaking to folks that are recording you. You're on social media, on live. You're talking about this with people publicly. This is a legal matter. If you're out there making statements, whether you do it on purpose or not, you could put this district at further liability. So I please ask my colleagues to please refrain from doing any of this stuff on social media or an email that puts us at risk and that makes our larger goal of what we're all trying to accomplish when it comes to compensation that more difficult. As it pertains to the specific motion, I would just say this, and this is me speaking, this is my personal opinion. Obviously tonight and the last couple weeks are very emotionally charged, and rightfully so, for a lot of people, especially the educators. But I think how we act and move and behave as a board right now will reflect how we can really accomplish this goal, but also how we will be perceived for weeks, months, and years. I, for one, think that the motion is very rash, and we need to step back, let a couple days pass, and move at a pace that's responsible, that doesn't put us at further risk, and quite frankly, further public ridicule than where we are today. Those are my comments. Trustee McIntyre.
Thank you, Trustee Luna, for your comments. As always, I'm listening and taking them under advisement, and I appreciate your input. The reason why I made the motion was because we read our statement and it was refuted on the floor by the lead negotiator saying that they were lies, that they were inaccurate, that they were not factually based. I think you are right, Trustee Luna, that it perhaps making a motion was rash in that it might not be the way to proceed forward, but I would like us to come together as a board. The problem is that we have people speaking out of turn outside of the board, which shouldn't be happening, like you said. I have not said anything outside of the board table, nothing at all. So whoever is saying things, they need to stop because it puts us at jeopardy. It puts us in a very bad predicament. We have to act as a cohesive entire board. And yet, you have members of the UTF who are leaders of the UTF who are under the same restrictions and requirements, releasing statements to the press, giving press releases that are factually inaccurate, and confusing the public and the community as to the situation. So I would like to withdraw my motion without prejudice or without objection, and to give us the time and the space to come together as a board and figure out how best to proceed, but we do need to address the activities of certain individuals, not on the board, outside of the board, dealing with this situation, because I do think what I did suggest and propose, we either consider it or consider what our options are along those lines, because I don't think that we're being treated fairly as a district, as a board, and it's not in the best interests of the students, of the teachers. I think I'm going to stop there, like
Okay,
Attorney Gardner said.
so-
I want to withdraw my motion.
So the motion has been requested and withdrawn. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, the motion is withdrawn from the floor.
Thank you.
All right, now I'd request Ms. Cleese return back to the podium to continue the quarterly update.
Thank you, Attorney Gardner.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Forgive me, Treasurer Luna.
Go ahead.
I would like to request a motion to go into closed session so we can set a date to go into closed session with Mr. Gardner to have a conversation that we just discussed.
All right, there's been a motion to go into closed session with Mr. Gardner. Is there a
Not
second?
now, I'm sorry, not now. To set a date, yes. Okay.
So just to be clear, you're not making a motion, you just want to maybe communicate?
I want to make a motion so that we can have it sooner than later, because he's leaving. So he said his comment was, we need to have a closed session so we can hear him. I would just like for that to happen, us to set a date. I'm sorry.
So just so, I want to make sure I hear you
Okay.
correctly. You're making a motion to go into closed session today?
No, I mean to check. I want to make a motion to, what am I trying to say?
Okay, so before, okay,
Go ahead.
so can I help?
Go ahead.
So
Okay.
we had planned on a closed session for next Wednesday. If you want it sooner, then your motion needs to move forward for another date. But we have planned on and checked with Mr. Gardner for next Wednesday. So that's already coming. We have a board meeting next Wednesday, so we're going to try to do it before the board meeting. If that doesn't please the board and you want to do it before then we should move forward with what you're trying to do. Trustee Rutherford is trying to get a date with Mr. Gardner and the board.
I would like it as soon as possible, because today, that can't wait. What we experienced today, we need to be prepared to share what's what or move correctly, because the longer we wait, the more things are going to be said that's going to put us in a worse light. So I'm one of 7, so I just want to, know if the motion is there, and if no one supports it, it just died.
I think it'd be easier if you just call Mr. Gardner back to the table just to give us some kind of clarity legally. It makes the most sense. Just to make sure we're moving in the right direction. Second time, huh?
I'm sorry, Ms. Cleaves.
If we're going to call a special meeting, it has to be 18-hour notice. So today is, I believe today is Wednesday. So I think Monday or Tuesday, but it depends on the board's schedule. We can make something work, but again, it depends on what the board can do.
You're not available Friday?
Okay, and I can be here, well, remember, it's gotta be 18 hours, so 8 hours.
Today's Wednesday.
Correct. So if you wanted to do it on a Friday night, again, you gotta, the way it has to work is 8 hours, then 8 hours, that would be 16. Under the Open Meetings Act, you have to, 8 hours that the offices are open, typically. It was 8/8, so the soonest you could do is Monday.
Okay.
So Monday, the district isn't open.
So if Monday, the district isn't open, Tuesday, which will be a day before your Wednesday meeting. I will be available on Tuesday if you can do it. If you need to do it Wednesday, I could do it. I'll make it work on Tuesday or Wednesday. But that's, again, gonna be, whether the board can all be there on that day. I'll make it available for you whichever day it is, so.
So you're not available on Monday, because I'm with Trustee Rutherford. We need to get something out as soon as possible.
Monday's a federal holiday.
Monday is President's Day.
My bad. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, I could be there on Tuesday. If you want to do it, move it up a day. I'll make, whatever the board needs to make work, I'll make it work. I will.
So currently, it's set for Wednesday. The only decision that needs to be made is if the board wants it Tuesday.
It's already set for
Wednesday is
Our board
date.
meeting.
Yeah.
So that means we just have to come at 5:30 on Wednesday.
Correct. It's currently.
Is that okay with you?
It's currently
Yes, I will be there Wednesday. If you need me there, I will be there.
Does that please the board?
So the meeting is, so the closed session with Mr. Gardner is already scheduled for Wednesday prior to the full board meeting.
Let's just do it.
So we can do it Wednesday.
It's already Wednesday, correct?
And we don't have to.
Cool, let's just roll then.
All right. Are there any more questions for Mr. Gardner?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Cleese, you can come back. And Tim, you taking off?
Yes, I am.
I see it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's just 1 hour, right? That's 1 hour.
You too.
Ready?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, this is a continuation of the grant allocations. So for Title I, we're looking at $38,267. For Title II, $808,193, and for Title IV, $814,978. So the total of those grants are $17,191,242. Also, what will be added is the grants we received from CS Mount Foundation. We received Network for School Excellence at Doyle Ryder for $250,000, Network for School Excellence for Durant Turimat of $250,000, and then Brownell Renovations called the Cube of $14 million. So total CS Mott Foundation grants of $14.5 million, then the total of the other grants from the previous slide of $17.1 million brings the grand total of new grants since Amendment 1 at $34,691,242. And I said this will be added to your second budget amendment, which will come before the board in April. These are restricted grant funds, and these will show grant neutral, meaning your grant revenue has to equal your grant expenditures.
So I want to be clear, and thank you for saying that last part, that these funds that have just come in are not funds you can utilize for the debt or utilize for teacher pay or anything of that nature. They're restricted and they have a specific use. Just want to be clear.
Next is the long-term debt analysis. We spoke about these bonds at the November 8th meeting and also briefly at our last finance meeting. But we have two bonds currently. The Energy Conservation Bond, this was issued on August 11, 2020 for $13.6 million. Payments begin on this bond of June 15, 2021, and payments end on June 15, 2040. The current balance is $15.9 million. Financial Stability Bond was issued on June 2020 for $30.6 million. Payments began on December 15, 2020, and are set to end on June 30th, 2045. The current balance for this is over $40 million. The current balance includes principal and interest.
Okay, never mind. That was my question.
Okay. Next up, energy conservation bond payments. Those are paid from your sinking fund dollars. The total revenue that is received is approximately $730,000 annually. The sinking fund millage is set to expire on December 2030, and the payment for 23-24 year is $771,550.
Mrs. Cleaves, you have a question?
Ms. Cleese, and if you need to send this to me or talk to me later, that'd be fine. I'm looking at the financial stability bond. What was that? What is that paying? I know we have to pay it back, but what is that money that we receive? What's that being used for?
The money,
What debt is it paying? That's my
it's
question.
previous structural debt, previous deficits you had.
So you say the previous debt, that's before ESSER, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So this would have been prior to 2020 when it was issued.
So all 30 million of it has been used for prior debt.
You had a deficit, and to clear that deficit, you borrowed the 30.6. A bond was issued for that 30.6.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay.
You got one more? Trustee King?
Hi, Ms. Cleaves.
Hello.
So I think, was it last week or when we had a finance cow, I asked you about the process when we get into operational deficit. So once in 2.4 years, we'll be at $0 in our general fund. Thereafter, we'll be at, if nothing changes, 14 million operational deficit every year after, right?
Right, with no changes.
With no changes. Is that basically what occurred for the financial stability bond?
You had previous, yes,
Okay.
structural deficits.
So we had previous debt before.
Mm-hmm.
We had to borrow from the state again. Well, at this point, 30 million to pay that debt off. Try to move forward, we have debt again, if nothing changes.
Correct.
Okay.
Any more questions for Mrs. Cleaves before she proceeds? All right.
Okay. So for the financial stability bond, the payments are received from your debt tax millage dollars, and the payment for 23-24 is $1,823,338.20.
Mrs. Cleaves, I had one kind of question. Could you explain to the board and to the public in layman's terms the difference between long-term debt and running an operational deficit, and how we can, borrow using bonds to pay towards that operational deficit? I think sometimes we can get confused in some of the financial jargon.
So let me make sure I'm understanding your question correctly. You're asking about the difference between the bond debt and
so we're carrying that long-term debt, and then year by year, fiscal year by fiscal year, we're growing our operational deficit. We have the ability to borrow using bonds to pay towards our operational debt, which then adds towards our long-term debt. Could you just explain that in a way better than I can?
So you took out the bond to pay off your previous debt. Essentially, what has to happen is you right-size the district so you don't run into another situation where you have a deficit.
Right.
But with that, you have to be able to get another bond to pay that deficit off. You already have the one currently.
So would it be fair to say that?
And that will have to pass and go through the
Right.
process.
The voter process. Would it be fair to say that if we don't address our operational debt and continue to ask voters to pay off that debt using bonds, that we're just paying debt with debt? Okay. I wanted to make that clear to my colleagues in the public.
Okay, next is the ESSER update, and what's provided for you is a link. So you're able to go to this website and get up-to-date information on your ESSER funds. The next slide is just a screenshot of what would be on the website. So it lists all of the COVID-19 dollars that were received, total allocated to Flint was $155.38 million. We have been reimbursed so far of $96.73 million. At the bottom, it shows the different funds that were received and the allocations for that.
I have one more question. Is there a way, obviously this can't happen overnight, and maybe not even in a few weeks, but I know for the most part, districts every year, they estimate needed capital improvements. So like HVAC, the roof, parking lot. We've been able to do a lot of that work with ESSER funds. So I'm to assume that over the next couple of years, that budgeted amount is going to be a lot lower. Is there a way to estimate, like, I don't want to use the word savings, but what otherwise would have went towards that? Does that make sense how I'm saying it? I'm really struggling to really say it.
So I think you're trying to say you would have had to use general fund dollars for
Yes.
that versus the ESSER grant fund.
Yeah.
So right now, we have allocated $40 million for construction projects.
Like, essentially, like, because we had ESSER, we didn't have to use general funds.
Mm-hmm.
Moving forward the next couple of years, otherwise, now we have, I guess, freer, that we have more funds that could have went to capital improvements that can go towards things like the operational deficit or other priorities like programming.
So
that's what I'm getting at.
So normally you would use your sinking fund for like maintenance and different things that come up, but currently our sinking fund is being used to pay the debt.
Okay.
Right, and so we'll be paying this debt out until 2040, around 2040, somewhere around in there, and so you won't have a sinking fund. What you have now is a fund balance that we discussed that you have 2.4 years on based on the upcoming operational deficit in 25, right? So when you spend 14 million next year, if that's, the deficit, then
It brings that fund balance down.
there you go. And then you go into next year, it might, if we do nothing.
If we don't
If we
do
do
anything.
nothing, it increases. And then you take another 14, and that's 28 million, right? So keep in mind, you have a district with old buildings that things do break down. The question is, where's the money coming from to take care of the breakdown? And even when you have new renovated buildings, things still happen.
Pipes burst.
Yep. So, you're just creating more debt. That's what we're doing. If we do nothing, we're creating more debt.
Thank you. All right. You can go ahead, Ms. Cleaves.
And currently, if you can go back to that slide one more time, sorry. Currently, out of the COVID money that we have listed, we just have ESSER 3, and ESSER 3 has to be spent September 30th, 2024. The next slide, this is just a snapshot. This is going to discuss where we're at, what's projected to be our fund balance for 23-24 year. Then I'm going to talk about significant impacts to that and how I got to the proposed budget for 24-25. So currently, our beginning balance is $55.5 million. That has been audited. That's what we started the year with. Our revenue from our Amendment 1 is at $126.6 million. Our expenditures are $132.6 million. This will bring our fund balance to $49 million. We have essentially $6 million more in expenditures than revenue. So that will reduce our fund balance projected based on our Amendment 1 to the $49.5 million. Significant impacts. Right now, we have the ESSER dollars of $76.3 million from ESSER 3. We will not have those ESSER dollars going into next year. So that is backed out. Expenditures, these are one-time costs that we would have had in our ESSER grant that we won't have next year because they were one time of $67.9. So proposed for 24-25, if nothing changes, all things are equal, we don't bring in additional revenue, we don't make any additional expenditures, our student count stays the same. Our beginning balance, fund balance will be $49.5 million, our revenue, $50.3 million, expenditures, $64.7 million. We'll bring our fund balance down to $35 million. So our projected structural deficit will be the $14 million. With that structural deficit of $14 million, if nothing is changed, that's where you come to having 2.4 years before that fund balance will reach zero. Several things can impact those future projections once again. If nothing is changed, and also building closures. So if buildings are closed, some of those dollars can be cost savings for us, but we won't really know right now until it's a decision made about staffing at these buildings, if they will go to vacancies or what will happen with that, where we could add it back into this budget. Because currently we're operating heavily and we're dependent on our ESSER funding.
Any questions? All right.
And the next quarterly report 3 will be April 10th, 2024, along with your second budget amendment.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Cleaves. All right. Seeing no further business, I declare the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned at 7:57 p.m. I turn the floor over to the Board President for the Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda.
Mr. Clark, please take over.
All right, wait a minute, where we at? Right here? Okay.
We're talking about the policy.
Okay, I'd like to turn the floor over to Superintendent Jones for, was it communique? Where's that in the script?
Committee of the Whole.
For action items, okay.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to approve item 21.12, adoption of listed policies. 0122, board powers. 1420, school administrator evaluation. 3120, employment of professional staff. 3130, assignment and transfer. 3131, staff reductions and recalls. 3132, vacancies. 3139, staff discipline. 3140, termination and resignation. 3142, probationary teachers. 3220, professional staff evaluation.
You seek a motion?
Seek a motion.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the items that was read into them.
Is there a second? Could you speak into the microphone, please? Trustee Rutherford didn't understand you.
Could somebody make the motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I seek a motion to approve action item 21.
Is there a second?
Support.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Treasurer Luna?
you know, we spent very detailed discussions on these policies in our workshop, and I feel pretty confident. For one, these are all, a lot of these are statutory requirements, so we're just moving our policy in tandem with the law. So there's not that much to debate, but I think we can get these approved tonight without too much discussion.
Okay. Anyone else?
I support what Trustee Luna said. We need to approve these tonight. Do we need a motion for that, or we could just?
It's a motion.
Yeah, we in discussion.
Okay, you made it, okay.
Trustee Rutherford?
For me, 0122 board powers. I want to pull that out because I just need this whole board to know where our powers lie. Because right now, I don't think individuals understand. So I just ask that we pull out 0122 so we can get everybody's understanding. So I make a motion that we set aside 0122.
Point of order, we're
What's your
already
point?
in a motion.
We in discussion.
Right, I want to pull it out. We're discussing. I made what I wanted to happen. I asked for it.
Are we still in discussion?
So, point of order. Trustee Rutherford made a motion to pull out a specific item of the action item 21. She needs a second. If it's seconded, we go into discussion, and then we can vote on it, but if there's not a,
We already in a motion, that's,
No discussion. We got to go ahead.
you're right.
So, may I make a comment? All right, so
Point of
these,
order?
If I don't get support, it just die.
It just dies?
If
Okay.
nobody's
All
second.
right, because this isn't a discussion on that.
No, this is something, yeah.
Did you want to say something?
yeah, I still want to make sure that the board knows what this is. These are the new laws, that were already, we talked about these in the last policy meeting, that are going into effect, that need to be done by, was it yesterday?
2/13, yep. Yeah.
So the motion died, so I think we just move on with the conversation at this point.
Okay. Trustee Rutherford.
I didn't have any intentions on not approving it, but I need this, I'm asking that the board understand your powers. We are all elected officials, the same. Whether you president or you just a trustee, we all have the same voice. The secretary of this board is a secretary of this entire board. She is not one person's personal secretary. So we all need to understand that. So I want to say that publicly. The secretary to this board, she's the secretary to everyone sitting at this table. However, the person who signs her paycheck is the superintendent. Thank you.
Okay, is there any more discussion?
I just want to be clear, are you speaking of Secretary Perkins or the executive assistant?
The executive assistant.
Okay.
Any more discussion?
Yeah.
Trustee McIntyre.
So I'd like to clarify that because it's not exactly accurate. The executive assistant isn't everyone on the board's secretary. That's not how it works. She has job duties in her contract. There's a very specific role that she plays. And then there's the Neola bylaws that we follow. And she's to assist the entire board in getting its business done. But she's not at the beck and call of every individual board member as a secretary or as an assistant. So I just wanted to make that absolutely clear. And it is not, it is beyond the scope of our elected capacity to talk to her, address her, order her around, demand that she do things. That is not okay. That is not acceptable. She is not to be treated that way, and she is not our personal employee. She is an employee of the district. Same thing with the superintendent. And I'm really dismayed and disheartened by the way that not everyone on the board is treating the executive assistant with dignity and respect, and basically following the bylaws of this board. So I would encourage our entire board to actually know what the Neola policies are, maybe to go to some more training or go to trainings again to get, informed about what your particular role is as a trustee or any particular office that you hold, because there seems to be an awful lot of confusion about who's doing what and who should be doing what, and it's not all one board member. There's a lot of confusion with all the board members. So another confusion is sending out mass emails to everybody and having a back and forth. that verges on violating the Open Meetings Act. We're supposed to conduct board business in an open meeting and to be professional and respectful, and not all board members are, again, doing that, not only to the executive assistant, but also to each other. And it's just a lot. It's a lot to have to remind the board over and over and over again. You know, just follow the rules, know what the rules are, and it's your responsibility to do your own reading and to know what they are and to follow the rules. I'm really tired of board members not knowing what the rules are and not following them.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right, seeing no further discussion, the motion.
I got something to say.
I was trying to.
That was so abstract to me. I don't even know what she's talking about. So I'm just, I guess I'm asking this board that we are board members. I'm not understanding where that conversation come from, but you just need to stay in your position at all times. Be it superintendent, trustee, administrative assistant, secretary, teacher, administrator. Stay within the confines of what your job description is, and I don't think there would be a problem. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, the motion to approve item 21.12, adoption of listed policies will be conducted by.
Point of order. I made a motion to approve 21, the entirety of 21.
Yeah, 21.12, right?
You know, 21.
The whole thing, the whole thing.
2112 is the first subset. I said 21.
I'm sorry. Okay, so the, okay.
Support.
21, yeah, that's
right.
that's what I just said.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Okay. 21.12, adoption of listed policies will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Okay. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
Treasurer Luna.
Yes.
President McNeil.
Yes.
Myself, President Clark, vote yes. The motion passes 7-0. Did I say it right? Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, continuing with the agenda, I would like to I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Yeah, my apology. I must not have my glasses on. I misread it myself, so I do apologize.
No, you cool. You didn't say Madam Chair, did you?
I said Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay. Okay. Continuing with the agenda, I would like to discuss the Flint Public Library seats. So, the statement?
You got it.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So, as part of the agreement entered into the,
Excuse me. The issue is we need to have a discussion about selecting the appointment for the library. And that wasn't, we have to adopt this policy in our Neola policy because Neola does not address the appointment of the Flint District Library. So this is the one that we have here. We probably have to look over it, board member look over and see what we want to make an adjustment or hear a copy of it, but we are behind in selecting our appointment for the public library. So I just made a copy of what we had in the past. You look over it and then give it back to government, Mr. Vice President Clark, and we have a meeting, and when we have our next governing meeting, and we discuss this because they're waiting on us to get this done for the appointments of the library.
okay. Trustee King.
Yeah, Vice President Clark, at our policy meeting, I had made a point to note that the district boards, various boards that's out there that we have affiliated with the district was not noted in Neola, and I asked us to create that. From my understanding, this is from the old FBOE bylaws. I'm okay with putting this into policy. Then we discuss the information, but we haven't put it in there. So I would, you know, if we have a meeting when we have Neola, I like to put this in there with the corrections that need to be necessary. But also, I would think it would be beneficial for us to know how many seats are up altogether, because from my understanding, all of them, I think about are up, from my understanding with term dates and all that. So I would like a list of all those individuals or seats are up and the term dates for those. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Trustee King. Any more discussion? Okay, so I would like to move, open the floor to discussion for the completion of the phased approach.
I thought we was having a workshop on this.
Okay, at this time, I would like to turn the floor over to Trustee McIntyre for the Academics Committee of the whole portion of the agenda.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
So I wanted to see what my colleagues would do, because I'm pretty sure all my colleagues know where I stand. But after the information we just heard today, for the third or fourth time, about the operational deficit and about the need to right-size the district. October, we agreed to a 3-year phased approach. 1, repurposing the building for this year, 2 for next, and the following, 1 for the following. We only completed 2 schools out of that. And now we're at the point of deciding the other 2. And from what I'm seeing, nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to talk about the completion of what we started. And what my concern is that we started something, we're not going to finish it. I think we all know the schools that we need to decide. We all had the Plymouth-Cresta document. And I would just ask my colleagues, what do we want to do? Do we want to cancel the phased approach? Are we just stopping at two closures? What are we doing? Because leaving our families, our community in limbo of the other 2 is a problem for me, in my opinion. I do know there's the sentiment of, we focused on growth, 100%. But the last school closure for my, follow me please, the last school closure for my recollection of the district had was Central High School. Mr. Jones, that's about right? What was the last school closure?
It's not correct.
Treasurer Looney, you got something in there?
So, point of information,
Northern was after Central.
Central closed between the years of 2009, 2010. There was
Northern.
There was a closure of several schools in 2014.
2014. So the last time, thank you for that. So the last time we had a school closure was around 2014, 2015. We now, in 2024, we have been declining in enrollment. The district for, let's say, 9 years has not taken steps to right-size the district in buildings and staff. We just begun the process last year. And I just asked my colleagues, to just take action on it. Because my final point to this is, in 2.4 years, we'll be at 0. Following that, we'll be at 14 million, if nothing changes, $14 million in debt. We just got the report of, prior to us, a bond was taken out to cover the last debt we had. I would say we know the road from history about where Flint Schools has been. We know we're going to have to go into the EDEP, we're going to have to borrow money, a whole nother bond. And then in the same token, we asking for, there's an ask for debt relief. And we're not addressing the debt that's probably coming, right? So there's a conversation need to be had about the upcoming debt, because we can't expect relief and incur more debt. That's all for me, Vice President Clark, for right now.
No, I just would help. President McNeil.
I think the problem we are having, we had made a motion a while back to get rid of some property. And it was over 13 schools that we had made a motion. We had the Trum Company come work with the community on that. On April the 23rd, we just going from one plate motion to the other. We haven't even addressed what we started off and paid for. On April the 23rd, Trum put together a recommendation for vacant property. He even did so he took four. He took these four right here. April the 23rd, we paid all that money, and he dropped it off with us, and we have not revisited these vacant property, which he had did the data analysis on it, on at least 4 of them out of the 13, which we asked him to do from our previous motion as we move towards eliminating the debts. We got to stop just like, I don't like this motion, but I want to do this. And it hadn't even been a year. He put together Zimmerman's, Stewart, and I think it was interest parties and Johnson. He listed school, the status of it. He even showed you what it would cost for this property to be redone or sold or whatever. We're supposed to get back with him so the public can see what they bid on and what was what. We keep talking about debt elimination, but we won't deal with these 20-some, at least these 13 that we all voted on. Brought Trum law firm in here on the 13, and we're supposed to address these here property that the people out in the public is waiting on. It's not so much of the phase 4. Let's go back and just start to doing what we started to doing as we work towards everything. So here we are now, still trying to push kids out of school, put them on a corner, catch a bus, whatever, to save a few dollars, and we have not even addressed. We promised these people, they came here and did these bids, and we paid for that. And it's not even a year, and we have not even addressed this here, right here, that we voted for from the previous board, but you guys voted this April, and he put this together, April 19, 2023. The issue is, and I kind of agree with Mr. Clark, let's get back to some of these vacant properties, see what we can do with them. We got people who wants to do great things with them, and let's get back to that as we move forward.
President, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so I want to be clear that we're not confusing two related but two very separate discussions here. The information item is about the phased approach, of which we approved last fall to do, which was close 4 schools over a period of 3 years. Separately, we have our vacant properties that are not going to close soon, but they've been closed for several years. At the Finance and Operations meeting on February 1st, we discussed at length a proposal to address those vacant properties. The consensus was that although the proposal was a nice start, it needed more work on it. So we talked about having a meeting to discuss that vacant policy proposal at a later date. That following week, there was a poll that was sent out to put that workshop on the calendar to discuss a vacant property policy. That's separate than the completion of the phased approach. So I'm with President McNeil. We need to address the vacant property policy, and we sent a poll out to put on the calendar. But to my colleague's point, Trustee King, we approved doing this phased approach in fall, all right? In December, it was on our agenda. We said we were going to put it on the calendar in January. we didn't make that deadline. It made it more towards in February during my committee meeting. We had discussion about it. We said, let's slow down. Let's do it the correct way. But here's the issue, and I tried to make this point when Mrs. Cleaves was speaking about our operational deficit and our long-term debt. We're in this vicious cycle of running an operational deficit that grows every year and then having to go to the voters for funds to then pay that debt. I'm gonna give you guys some examples of what other districts do. Urban, suburban, rural, when it comes to seeking voters' funds for our schools. You know what they do with their money? Yes, some of them do pay off debt. What they do is they pay their teachers, that's allowed, but most of them do capital improvements, whether it be a new high school, new HVAC, parking lot, and we're in the vicious cycle of borrowing money to address our operational deficit, and that money is not reaching our classrooms, it's not reaching our neighborhoods, it's not helping us tear down buildings, it's not helping us rebuild buildings, it's not helping us build new buildings. And I can tell some people don't want to hear me say this because it's a broken record, I get it. But I have to emphasize a point. We have to make decisions when it comes to our operational deficit. That leaves us at risk for state takeover. That leaves us with less funds to address teacher and staff compensation. That leaves us at risk. If we have all these buildings that are just sitting there becoming blight by the day, and we have buildings where children and staff are in, that leaves us with less funds to address the improvements that's needed. I'm happy we got ESSER, but guess what? That's gonna be gone in a couple years. The next pipe that bursts at one of our schools, the next furnace that breaks down, we're not gonna have the funds to do it because we're using our fund balance to pay our operational debt. I wish you guys would put your heads up and pay attention. It's ridiculous. We have to address this. No one wants to close schools. I'm not running for office next year. I don't care about it. I wanna get it done. It's the right thing to do. We have to do it. We have to have the courage and the leadership to do this. I don't like getting yelled at by a whole bunch of teachers, neither do you, but guess what? There's a reason they're here. Had we taken care of business before, and it's not just this board, it's previous boards over a course of decades, but this board has been here for a year, and we bear responsibility. We could have completed this phased approach last month like we agreed to in December. Check the minutes. The minutes say we're gonna put it on the calendar in January. We didn't do it. Have some courage, make a motion so we can complete this. That doesn't scare me. What it does, it disappoints because guess what? They're here for a reason. Because we're not doing our job. We can be innovative and creative in addressing these issues. We can't pay them the top dollar in the state. We can't demolish every building on our own. But if we can show leadership and show actionable steps, our partners, whether they be in philanthropy, at state government, at federal government, will see us making decisions. I'll be honest. If I was a Republican legislator on the west side of the state and I saw a district in the city of Flint with 20 vacant properties just sitting there, a report from Plant Moran Cressa that says you have way too many buildings, don't have the students for them, and you have a $35 million fund balance, I wouldn't give you a damn dime. We need to make decisions. Whether you like it or not, it needs to be said. And that's it.
Trustee Rutherford.
After that, well, I guess, thank you, Dylan. Treasurer Luna. We got to do something. I guess I don't want to hear the same stuff. We did this, we did that. You can't I am not in support of somebody getting a building because they got the same idea 40 other people have. We have to close schools. We have to repurpose schools sooner than later, and we need to do it immediately so that teachers can get paid. And the couple people stated today, a lot of you ran saying that you were going to take care of the teachers. I'm one of those individuals. I have not wavered from that. I made the motion to put $1.5 million aside for a reason. The teachers are the bloodline of this district. We need to be able to compensate the teachers at a rate that they can live off of. When you compensate the teachers correctly, you can hold them accountable. Right now, you can't hold them accountable because you're not paying them anything. But everybody has an excuse on why the teachers can't get paid and why the students can't get what they need. If we weren't going to DC to advocate for funds, I had said I wasn't going to go. But when I realized that we were going down there and we needed to address our students with special needs, that became important to me because I knew I had something to present to the leaders of this country that will help us to get the funding that we need. But if we do not send our kids to DC, we don't need to go because it's about the children getting the education. That is a horrific look when we go and get training. But when it comes to someone else, everybody want to he and ha and duck their head. No, make the tough decisions. We have to repurpose schools. Sooner than later, we do have property that's vacant, but the great thing about a lot of vacant properties where there's no structure, you have the infrastructure underground, which saves a lot of money for individuals that really want to do something with it. So what we need to do is, because a lot of these buildings have had fire, whatever assessment were done on those as it relates to the value, that has decreased because of the weather and fires and also vandalism. So there's no way we can go on an appraisal of a building from 2 years ago. So my statement is we just need to just go forth and do it. You got two people, 2.5, that are stuck. I'm sorry, it's 7 people on this board. Pull them along or leave them. I just want us to move forward. I don't want to hear this conversation anymore. I want us to be able to tell the people what we're doing and where we're doing it, how we're doing it, and what they can expect. Because if people need to be laid off, we need to let them know sooner than later. Thank you.
Trustee King.
Thank you. Ms. Cleaves, can the selling of vacant properties positively impact the operational deficit that we have? And if so, what number would that look like?
Well, one, I would need to know the value of the vacant properties. However, all the revenue that would be received, the proceeds received from the sale of the property, we would be able to put into our general fund dollars, which would offset that.
Okay, so, thank you. Going off of that, I believe, if I can remember right, when we first got on the board, we talked about addressing vacant properties. We had, I think, I can't remember his name, sorry. Troon come up here. We had a report about all the 13 properties we had. We saw the bid numbers. The highest bidder we had was $250,000 for Zimmerman School. The rest were 500, 4,000, 4,000, 200. Yeah, there was a couple of them. There was a rest of them. If you add all that up, that's about, I'm guesstimating because I don't have the numbers in front, less than $400,000.
I was going to say.
Right? We tried to address it at that table, then we were told, oh, well, there must be some mischievous things going on, backdoor deals, or people concerned about the motives behind them. We tried that. We tried to address vacant properties when we got on this board to do that. We could not gain enough support to handle those 13 vacant properties. We had the opportunity, we had the conversation, but it was derailed. Now, when we face a $14 million structural deficit, you got employees want increases, not just one union, several. We face with the opportunity to do something that hasn't been done since 2014, 2015, was to right-size this district. We have HR actually taking the steps necessary for right-sizing. We have business services working and flowing, giving us accurate numbers as they always have been, moving forward. Now the time comes for us to make a financial decision that will impact the future. Now let's think back, let's say we was on the board 10 years ago. We were making the decisions at that time frame and not knowing the impact they'll have in 2024. Think about it. If we leave this district the way it is right now, we did nothing when we got on this board. Nothing. So I would just say to my colleagues, in 2.4 years, nothing has changed. If no one want to make no motion, no movement. When we looking at $0 in the general fund balance, and the year after, folks gonna be like, oh, whoa, wait a minute, we gotta scramble. Now we sitting okay for right now. But when the scrambling happened, we gonna say, oh, well, we wish we would have did. Now we gotta borrow, now we gotta cut. And we can take the opportunity now to do the work. That's it for me.
Mr. Chair.
We've got two more people.
All right.
President McNeil.
Oh, let her go because I spoke and I speak.
Okay, so Trustee McIntyre. Are you for?
So, to my
Because I spoke once.
esteemed colleagues, I'm listening carefully. I understand what a structural deficit is, probably better than most. It is a falsehood to just think that you can sell abandoned properties or abandoned buildings or even close currently operating schools to balance the budget. I would challenge my colleagues who think that this is possible to show me the numbers. Because what will happen is, as Trustee King pointed out, are you okay? As Trustee King pointed out, the sum total of the offers that we received on the 13 properties would be probably less than $400,000. If you close buildings, so if we were to look at a tiered approach, a 4-year tiered approach, and actually do the math, studies have shown it's evidence-based that when you close operating schools that are currently running, you lose that enrollment. So I would like to see the figures to show me the loss of those students and what that revenue loss would be. And I would like to see the balance of what you would make from quote-unquote selling or repurposing or offloading that building based on the revenue that would actually be lost. Because you can't just do a line item and go like this and say, oh, we're going to not have this cost for this building because the staff are going to be eliminated, or no, they're going to go somewhere else. It's a balancing act, as we saw when we were doing the workshop, that you have to consider enrollment, you have to consider the population density, you have to look at where the 4th graders are, the 3rd graders are, where the where the smaller kids are, the high school, all of those things have to be taken into consideration. So for those of my colleagues who are really pushing to close schools and to offload buildings, show me the numbers. Show me the numbers, and also show me where our budget removes or where we lose the enrollment that is currently at the buildings that you're proposing to close. Because evidence shows, history shows, that is indeed what happens. So you don't actually save any money. You're not making any money. You're actually losing money. And the example I like to use, as Trustee King pointed out, 10 years ago, what was the board? Well, actually, 10 years ago, 2014, and before that time, I was sitting in board meetings in the audience quite consistently, regularly, as a community member, reading the balance sheets, paying attention, sitting there throughout the entire board meetings, listening to what was going on. I was there, I know. I understand what the state was doing intentionally to shortchange us in terms of the budget so that we would close our buildings and give them away to the lowest bidder. Just like what happened with our water pipeline, with our other public assets in the city, that is the structure. That is the design. That is how the government works right now. And instead of all of us coming together and understanding the system that is stacked against us and working together to think outside the box, to come up with some kind of creative solution, we're just following the same game plan that has put us in this structural deficit in the first place. In 2018, the reason why we took out that bond was because the state insisted. It wasn't a very good bond deal. And they were like, well, you're gonna have to, if you don't do this, it was extortion. You're gonna have to turn in your keys and we're gonna shut down the district. A lot of decisions have been made against our will and by other board members who didn't have the best interests of the district at heart. And we're here where we're at, for better or for worse. I mean, I don't want to belabor the history, but on the other hand, there are some historical facts and points that we do have to be mindful of, because not only has it gotten us to where we are, but it can really affect where we're going in the future. And like I said, the example I use is when we offloaded the two properties in the cultural center. One was the Sarvis building, and the other was the adjacent property on which the new charter school is on, that is taking away our enrollment, that does not belong to us. We no longer have a Sarvis Center, a public community center, which is where our central kitchen was, that fed our students, and instead, the wisdom of our previous board members decided to close Northwestern for budget purposes. Remember that? Remember that? How we were gonna save money doing that? And sell off, you know how much we sold Sarvis Center for and the other adjacent property? $75,000. For a property that's worth way more than that and is now taking away our enrollment. Not only that, our central kitchen went to Northwestern, which is not even operating for students. There are no students there. We don't have a school there. Instead, we're keeping that entire building open to run, I was about to say half-assed, but I'll say it again, a half-assed kitchen. And do you know how much we're paying in utility fees to run that kitchen that we sold for $75,000? So we made $75,000. Ooh, well done, Flint schools. Now we're paying $200,000 a year in utility costs to run a kitchen that isn't very good, that the students didn't like the food, in a quasi-abandoned building that is now decrepit and decaying, that the community wanted to keep open and could be a viable, functioning high school. And you know what they did with Central? We all know what they did with Central. They left a perfectly good building wide open. Literally, the doors were left wide open with all of the paperwork, all of the student paperwork, the furniture, the textbooks, the shop machinery that we could have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. that we found out in a board meeting these past couple of years. And they left that door open on purpose so that these so-called arsonists and vandals could go. Come on, it's not our community that's burning these buildings up or vandalizing these properties. This is intentional by design. If you guys want to shut down all this, let's close all the schools. Look how much money we'll save. But the point of the public schools is to educate children and to be here for the community. We're a community. We're not here to save money. Yes, we're supposed to be fiscally responsible, and we need to be, but if you're put in that situation, that structural deficit, there's no way to be that. So within those constraints, we're gonna have to figure that out. Fine, let's go ahead and close all the schools, and look how much money we'll save, and then we won't even have any schools. And truth be told, if you do shut down schools, students are gonna leave, and you're not gonna have a school system anyway. So let's just give the district back to the state.
Thank you, Trustee McIntyre. President McNeil.
As we all can see, this is very emotional. Plant Moran is nothing new. We came on here in 3 years, we've worked with Plant Moran. I can show you reports after report, data changes based on whatever it is you're looking at. We've been working on this debt elimination plans for years. But the problem that we don't have, what we do have and don't have, is that we agreed in the last meeting that we would come together and do a workshop and work out these things together. But when you come to a meeting like this and expect for the board members to jump up and make a rash decision, because it's just urgent. We understand that the Boys and Girls Club want Eisenhower. We get that. But other people want Eisenhower. Other people want the school over there by you. We got people looking at buildings, wants to do something with Longfellow. We got people looking at doing different things. But until we come together in fairness and openness and look at what it is that we do have, stop spending all of this money, even if we close 4 schools today, what is it gonna do? Nethercutt going to Longfellow, going to IAF. The issue is we have to sit down and really think and not be pressure. Once you close Pierce, tell us, well, then we figure out what you're gonna do with Pierce. Where we going with Pierce? We're spending all of this money on these schools, then we're talking about just giving them away. Most people that come and here is looking for something for nothing. If they don't never come in and say, well, give me Pierce and I give you a land contract. No, just give me Pierce. Just give me this, give me that. How are you gonna get the money? What's your plan in getting the money? Just giving away the building. No one has came in yet and said, even with Pierce, what are we gonna do with it? But it was agreed. And I was anxiously waiting on that we have a workshop, a working workshop, and we said that we was gonna do them immediately, right behind each other. Now we are here today, hearing these long lectures and stuff about what we need to do, but we won't keep the promise that we made. We agreed, Trustee Lona, and you was at the meeting as well, that we would have working workshop.
Point of order. Sorry, point of information.
What did we say that?
Wait.
Sorry, point of information. That was my fault. So at that meeting on the 1st of February, we did agree to schedule a workshop. A poll was sent out, and that workshop was on vacant properties. I think this discussion is on the phase of completion.
See, that's the misunderstanding. We're saying a workshop on property, on everything, that the board needs to sit and be on the same page. If some board member want to talk about the vacant property, we can do that. It just doesn't have to be about the phase 4. Let's solve all of this stuff at one time during workshop. It worked before, it was working before. And let's go back to that. We spent this money on this 4 building. We can do phase 4 and work on those properties at the same time, but I think the board needs to be together where we can all feel that we got a part in this and work this thing out, because closing school is not going to change that deficit. But what I don't hear, I ran, everybody said they ran for this. I ran for growing public school, improving public school, better pay for teachers. I believe that we can get this enrollment up, but if you keep tearing your own district down, tearing them down, discouraging people to come to your school, they're not gonna come. Why don't we start looking at plans and stuff for getting the enrollment up? One or two person can't do that. It's a lot of things we can do to get this enrollment up, but that is not where it seems to be. It seems to be, let's close the building, let's close. Yes, we need to close, and also we need to get rid of some of the vacant property. One thing about it, you cannot appraise vacant building. There's no appraisal on vacant building. There's never been appraisal on these vacant property. They tell you, Truman was working with these people, telling them what it would cost them if they could keep it up. But we have to have a working workshop so we can be clear of what it is we want to do, and let's work together on your phase and on that other problem, because we agreed. You saying that it was just about the phase. Other members thinking it's about the 28 property. But why don't we start out with a workshop where we don't sit here all night long trying to make everybody select a building tonight? I don't think that's fair.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, Treasurer Luna.
Yeah, I want to be clear again. We spent $60,000 of your funds, Flint, Michigan, on 3 workshops with Plant Moran Cressa last year in 2023. We had 3 workshops, public workshops in this building right here about this phased approach. You want to talk about numbers? We'll talk about numbers. And again, this is not the entire 14 operational deficit. We have a lot of work to do besides closing buildings. This approach will save us between $1.5 and $1.9 million a year once we complete this phased approach. But let's take a trip back down memory lane to October 5th, because I got receipts in the minutes. So, and again, shame on you all for going back on your word. I'll be real with y'all. If I could close the school tonight, I would. I can count 3 votes, not 4, so I won't make the motion. Because if I make the motion, I have to get a motion to rescind, which means I need 5 votes. And essentially that kills the phased approach. So I won't do that. That's a rabbit hole, that's a trick. I won't do it. But if I have 4 votes, I'll make that motion tonight. But let's go back down memory lane. The motion made by Trustee King, seconded by Treasurer Luna for a 3-year phased approach for closing schools. 1 building for 2024-2025, 2 buildings for 2025-2026, and 1 building for 2020-26-2027 was approved by a roll call vote of 5-2. The ayes were Perkins, McNeil, King, Luna, Clack. The nays were Relaford, McIntyre. We've announced Pierce for 2020, 24, 2025. That year is done with. We announced Nethercutt for 2024, 2025. That means we have 1 more school for 2020, 24, 2025, and 1 more left for 2020, 25, 2025, 2026. At this point, why do we make these motions as a public body if we're not gonna follow through on it? It's a recurring theme. The 1.5 million, they're still not getting paid from it. The DC trip didn't happen. Now we got a half-done, half-assed phased approach, and it's not done. It's disgusting. Have some courage and do your job. We said we were gonna do this. Then we delayed it further and further and further to January. We didn't do it in January. We can do it tonight. We paid for it. We got the data. We had 3 workshops with this agency. 3. I mean, what more time do we need? This vacant property, we got it on the calendar. It's gonna be in the first week of March. I wanna bring solutions and solicit feedback. I tried 2 weeks ago. I bought a policy. I didn't like it. We can work on that and go ahead, but we need to make action. Now we're just kicking the can down the road. Again, I would make a motion tonight to close the school, because I know for a fact that we have students in Southwestern. Once you renovate homes, we're getting back in homes, we can put this program in this building right here in Southwestern. We can house it. But you know what? If I make that motion, it's gonna fail, and then it's done for, because you won't get the 5 votes to get it done. That's the reality of it. Again, if I had 4 votes, I'd make that motion right now. I got 3 maybe. I know.
I would like to make a motion that we close ALA after the children return back from homes.
What school year?
We can, within that phase that you have, well, you
So-
have to be what school year, because you got to wait till
I'll make
we
the-
have to wait till homes come back to
Okay, so
Cornell.
I'll make the motion for you. I make the motion, we close ALA for the school year of 2025, 2026.
You making the motion? I support it.
You got the,
I made you-
okay, so is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Trustee King.
All right. Superintendent. We're not trying to close the program. We're trying to close the building. Is this what I'm hearing from my
Yeah, point of information. So yeah, that's a good point. I want to close the physical building in which ALA is housed in, not the program. So let me rephrase my motion
Thank
to
you.
make it clear. I want to close the building in which ALA is programmed for, in which ALA is located for 2025, 2026, not the program.
Support.
Okay, discussion. Trustee Rutherford.
I support that.
It was already supported. We having discussion.
I know we have a discussion.
She was just,
I'm making it known that I support that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
okay. Any more discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'll be real quick. I appreciate the support and the discussion. Look, y'all, my grandparents live 2 blocks from this school. I live 2 blocks from Central. When we close schools, this affects communities. That's why I've been so adamant to work with President McNeil, other colleagues, and Superintendent Jones to make sure that this first closure for Pierce, which is several months away, that it's done in a responsible way. And I think we have the commitment to do that. And that's a whole neighborhood of families, young families, that property is valuable. I don't want to see it sold, but I do want to see it occupied by a program or entity that's going to take care of the building, that can make improvements towards it. We just put so much effort and time into that. We've been closing schools for a long time in this district. We need to start repurposing them, and we said that. Let's put those words into action. So thank you for the support.
Okay.
I need to say something.
President McNeil.
So, Trustee Luna, as we talk about repurpose, so do you have a plan, or you had a plan for peers? You talked about that once before, that, but then we're not gonna close and leave an empty building unless we can repurpose that building. That's what we was understanding before?
I've not been involved in those conversations.
Okay.
However, I know that there's responsible community anchors. I don't gotta name them.
Oh, yeah, you don't, right?
Who've done good work in this community, who repurpose buildings, who take them over. I'm talking about churches, schools, housing, who can, even look, speak to the neighborhood association. They will move in and take it because they took
Wouldn't
care.
it, not free though, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we have to structure these agreements in a way that is fair, because we're not gonna get rich off these buildings through lease agreements. But you know what? I think we can reach a compromise where we keep the building that's viable. If they make improvements, maybe there is some kind of discount on a lease. But again, that's not my
That's something
role.
we're
That's
talking
more of a superintendent and administrative role.
Mr. Chair, if you don't have
Yeah,
nothing to
Trustee
add.
King. Trustee King, I'm sorry.
To our secretary, executive assistant, could you repeat the motion that's going to be on the minutes for me? Okay. Mr. Jones, I don't want to assume. Where would this program go? I know where it would go, but can you tell us where would this ALA program go after the building is closed?
Okay, so there's a lot moving right now in this conversation, okay? But off the top of my head, ALA would have to move into the area where Holmes is currently at Southwestern. This is off the top of my head. But I think that there's some work to do with the decision. After the decision is made, we're going to get to work with this decision to try to determine where that's going to be. But I would not want you to quote me saying that that's the end result, because there's other things to talk about with our alternative scholars being moved as well. But that's not being against the closure at all. That's just to say, off the top of my head, I can answer you by saying my first
Okay,
thought,
understand.
without talking to my team, without talking to
I'm gonna go next.
anyone else, would be Southwestern Academy.
Okay, so, to my recollection, CFO, could you help me out with this?
Can I say something else? I'm sorry.
Okay.
To answer you, there's also, we're also thinking, board, that we are pushing the possibilities in still building a high school, correct?
Yes.
And so in that mindset, if we're pushing this to 25, 26, the other thing that comes to mind is making sure that when we build a high school, we're thinking about our alternative scholars as well. Because if you're building a high school, we want to think about where they're going to be in that high school, along with an administration, right? And our high school scholars from Southwestern. So I just want to push that out there too, because we're not just talking about repurposing, we're still talking about building. And we're still at the table with folks and about to meet with folks about the possibilities to move that. So because you're pushing this to 25, 26, that is a better idea, because it helps us to possibly get a shovel in the ground. And then that may change into the possibility of a new bill. Does that make sense to the conversation? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My bad, you were
Okay.
done.
I recall us receiving information, I can't remember, Mr. Jones, if you could help me out with this. We had received information of each building operational cost. We received each building, do you know what I'm referring to?
Feasibility study?
I believe that's what it was. We received how much it costs to run the building, like for example, Pierce, $1.9 million, right?
That included staff, that included maintenance and everything that goes along with the cost.
Right. Could that be forwarded to the board again? Each school?
No, I don't need it.
Could that be forwarded to me?
Feasibility study?
Yes, I
don't
want
know
to
that-
see the.
I don't know that, Ms. Cleves did do Pierce, but I know we did a feasibility study. We can re-forward the feasibility study.
I wouldn't mind, you forward it to me. If folks don't want it, can you forward it to me? So I'm able to see how much it costs to run each building, how much runs on its own, do it not run on its own. I would like to request that for me, okay? Going forward, I hear my colleagues talk about the past and how everything happened. I understand that. There needs to be a solution brought up. Besides, so some don't want, I'm glad we're in this motion. I'm so glad we're in this motion. But I want to hear a solution from my other colleagues as to how we tackle the $14 million deficit. I want to hear a solution. I would rather hear a solution. I hear the decline in enrollment because I was one of those scholars that left Flint Community Schools after 6th grade because there was no plan presented to my parents. I was one of those scholars. So I would like to hear a solution. How do we tackle the $14 million deficit without school closures? I want somebody to explain it. Like, what's the grand idea of that, and where will we be after we at zero in 2.4 years? That's all. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a few seconds to speak. I actually was sitting over here brainstorming myself, and I had ALA with a question mark around it. So I'm in support of the closure of ALA, and I'm also in support of moving the scholars to Southwestern, where the Holmes thing is now. I got a question for Mr. Jones. Now, I don't want to put you on the spot, but what is the biggest hurdle that you think? Would it be security? The biggest?
So from from past information given to me from some of my teammates is that they tried that before with putting the ALA scholars in with the Southwestern scholars, and it was rough.
Right.
However, the walls weren't up. I've had this conversation with the team. The alternative scholars that are here having their own space has been good for them. And that's why I push out, if that happens, we're going to make sure that we work this out and we dot the I's and cross the T's, right? But if the opportunity for the new bill comes, I think we need to look into that as well, to ensure that those scholars, that past history issue that came up with the crossing and the gang-related activity, which you can't always stop that. That's in the community. But the related activity that happened, we tried to curtail that. So off the top of my head, I think about those things, but I also think about the fact that we just put up walls. We just had this experience with homes in Southwestern. So there's ways to make this happen. And you're giving us time to build out a plan if it is Southwestern Academy, that the scholars here will move over to that building.
Okay, so I think that you and your team has done a good job with giving the blueprint of, with the move of homes over to Southwestern and how the security model could work. Again, I think I'm in agreement with, I just need to stress to the board how important it is that we do deal with these vacant properties along with the closing of these schools, because I didn't like the fact that we had to deal with all these angry people today. You know what I mean? Like, I would if we could at least, go welcome. I mean, I would, if we could at least walk into the direction of, doing what we need to do. I just don't want to forget about these vacant properties that we have. There are a lot of, we get a lot of phone calls and we're in a lot of potential litigation if one of these kids go into those schools and has an accident, or somebody goes in and have an accident. So I would like to, as long as we moving in that direction, I'll support, I'm going to support the move, as long as we can chew bubble gum as well.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll be real quick. Were you first?
Yeah, she was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She was.
I know
She
you were
was.
next.
Yeah. Trustee McIntyre.
So, this is what I'm talking about, like this kind of compromise and brainstorming. And I appreciate the comments. Trustee Luna, I think we're getting back to kind of the point we were at before, when we're talking about, some of these partnerships, like you were talking about maybe we're using language at cross purposes, but I think we're actually talking about the same thing in some instances. So for example, this is a good, ALA it's a building, but it's also a program. This would be something that we have to have this program, and it would be something that can be transferable, not without its difficulties, and not without its hardships and consideration. I'm not making light of that, saying that it'd be easy, but this is something that I support, that I think is like a compromise. It's an option. And so this is something that isn't necessarily closing a building and you're going to lose students necessarily. So, and I agree with having it out so that we've got time to plan and like you said, make those kind of projections to do building as well as repurposing. So with that in mind, I'd like us to continue in this spirit, doing something similar. I want to underscore what you said about getting something viable. That's the key. What I've been discouraged about has been just not well-meaning people and groups who really want to do something for the community, but it's not thought through, and they don't have like a business plan, they don't have, we would still be liable, Trustee Clack, for someone coming in and not having a viable business plan, and it would revert back to the district anyway, right? And that would be an additional cost. It wouldn't actually be cost savings. So I would love to see some of these buildings repurposed. Yeah, you and I have had that discussion, not to mention any names or, you know, organization, but it has to work, it has to be viable. And so I'd like to start with ALA. Could we, I'm kind of beseeching the board to have a workshop, not to put off the process longer, but to actually do the digging, that deep work, to re-scramble. It's like a puzzle, you know, you've got to kind of like move the pieces around and see where everything fits. And so we do have, I do think it would be better for us to look at the school closing plan with the vacant buildings, like in conjunction. It makes sense to me to do it at the same time. So that's what I'm requesting as a board. And like I said, not to put it off, but to actually just do the due diligence and to keep, not to revisit the past, but at least to get some of that material that's already been done. Like, we have a lot of information that can still be used and can still be fruitful. So, yeah, so I'll support that, and that's just kind of what I want to say.
I'll be quick.
Any more, Trustee Luna?
I think that's great, and I think we can combine the vacant property workshop with the rest of the phased approach completion. Mr. Chair, to you, to the executive assistant, did we get a date scheduled for that in early March yet? I know there's the poll sent out. Okay, well then I'll get back with you and pick a date, because that's unacceptable to only get 3 responses back. My second point is this. I think we've all had discussions with each other, I know I have, about just like how we can really envision how we close schools, but also these 20+ vacant properties. I'm not gonna say who, but I actually went to one of my colleagues' house and looked at a building 2 blocks from her home, and I just said, hey, look at this building, look what could it be for your neighborhood? How can we make this really a beacon of hope for this community? And we have a lot of those. Some we gotta tear down, I'll be real with y'all, but some we don't. Some of these buildings have materials that are not in existence anymore because they're so historical and they're valuable. And there's local, state, federal, private, and philanthropic dollars specifically meant for historic restoration to really close that cost, because it is more expensive to restore older buildings. So I'll get off the soapbox for that, but I just want to move forward on this. I think we can get this done tonight and then have that last school at that workshop at least discussed.
Okay. So are we conducting a roll call vote? Roll call vote on the closure of ALA, correct? Can you repeat, Ms. Beer, can you repeat the motion, please? Okay, so I'll repeat that. There's a motion to close this building, ALA, the building, not the alternative education program, for the school year 25-26, correct? Okay.
Where will the students be going?
They'll be going to. No, we didn't want to get into.
No, I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, no.
So you can't. So I guess my question is, how are we gonna vote to close it? And we don't know. Do we got an idea where they're going? Just say that something. I must have missed that. I'm sorry.
So
that's why I said clarification.
Yeah. So we discussed, off the top of my head, they will be going over to the space where Holmes is currently residing at Southwest.
Okay. So tentatively.
Tentatively.
Okay. Can't. That's fine.
Mentioned 2025, 2026, we might be breaking ground in the high school if they have the funds to do so. So that also changes.
Okay. My reason for asking is because I know we're going to do renovations at Brownell, and I thought someone said that the students from Brownell would shift over to Holmes while they're doing renovations. Did I not hear that? That's why I asked that.
That's taking place next month.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll now conduct a roll call vote. Does everybody know clarity? Everybody clear on what we voting on? Yeah. Okay, so we'll now conduct a roll call vote. Board members, as I call your name, please say yes or no to accept the motion. Treasurer Luna.
Yes.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Trustee King.
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
President McNeil. Yes. And myself, President Clark, vote yes. The motion passes 7-0. Okay, so moving forward.
Mr. Clark?
Yes, sir.
All right, we got one more remaining. That is 2024 to 2025. I will ask, what's next? I don't agree with, we keep, I'm proud of us, I'm gonna say this, I'm proud of us for doing one. But we keep waiting. We got three altogether. but we
One
keep
information.
waiting.
We completed 2024, 2025 with Pierce. We have 2026, 2027 left.
Wait a minute. Oh,
We've got 3 so far.
that's a 2-year, wait, that's the next school year, right?
We've announced a school closure for this upcoming school year. We've announced 2 school closures for the
thanks.
subsequent
All
school
right.
year, and we've not announced it for 2026, 2027.
I forgot. Sorry. Thank you, Treasurer Lynn. So yeah, I still remain the same. What's next? I don't think we should keep piecemealing this plan when it just. I'm glad for the robust discussion that we just had. Real glad of it. We have one more remaining. It's like we add a little piece to the puzzle when we're gonna complete the puzzle. And then we're gonna tie it into, vacant property discussion. That's gonna get, I can see it now. I already make my thoughts on that. I don't think we're gonna delay that meeting until later and later and later. Why can't we complete the phased approach tonight? Why not?
Sure. Mr. Chair.
Yes, I'm sorry, Trustee.
I make a motion that we table the phased approach tonight.
Support.
Table to where? That's improper.
Let me rephrase it. I make a motion we postpone it indefinitely.
Support.
That drops the whole thing.
Okay.
And point of information, in parliamentary procedure, when you postpone it indefinitely, you can bring it back at another meeting.
Okay, so it's been properly moved and motioned and supported. Is there any discussion? So basically,
So the motion was to postpone the information item indefinitely. And just for the folks, when it comes to Robert's rules, that means for the meeting the day of. You can bring that up in a majority vote at a following meeting. It doesn't need to be a 2/3 majority.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Y'all keep walking over eggshells.
So we looking for a second, correct?
It's been second.
Oh, so we're in discussion. I'm sorry, I'm writing notes down. Okay, is there any discussion? Trustee
Yeah,
King?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
How, same thing like I predicted in when we announced the phased approach, when we did the 2. We're gonna keep kicking this can down the road. It's been said again tonight, right? We have the opportunity now to address it. We're gonna keep moving this down and down and down and down. We can complete it. We all know. Come on now. We know it. Do I plan on changing your mind? No, but I want to make sure I said it. Like I said before, we keep moving month to month to month. The more time we move and wait, we keeping families in limbo. The idea to piecemeal this, again, is absurd to me. I just don't get why we keep piecemealing and not solving the issue and then moving on to the next. This is gonna be looming over our head, sitting here, okay, we still got one more to go, one more to go. And we can just move on. We can move to vacant properties. We can put all our energy into vacant properties now. Right? Like, we keep piecemealing this. I'm not understanding, but I'll be voting no.
Treasurer, Trustee McIntyre was next. And then you.
Call for the question.
Okay.
Support.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
first time you're
Okay, all right, so is there any discussion?
no discussion.
There's no
Okay,
discussion.
all right,
Call
so
for
we'll
the
just conduct a roll call vote. Hold on, let me get yeah, the call for the question. Right, so we vote the call for the question. Right. Okay, so, Treasurer Luna,
Yes.
Trustee King,
Yes.
Trustee Relaford,
No.
okay, Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre,
Yes.
Secretary Perkins,
Yes.
President McNeil. Yes. Myself, President Clark, vote yes. Passes 6-1. Okay. All right, so now we'll,
Move the vote.
okay, so,
Postpone indefinitely.
okay, all right, so now we'll conduct a roll call vote on postponing the motion indefinitely, correct? Correct, okay. So as I call your name, we'll say yes or no to accept. We gonna switch it up. Trustee King,
No.
Trustee Rutherford,
No. No.
and we get one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got excited.
I'm just messing. Okay, Treasurer Luna.
Yes.
Okay, Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
President McNeil. Yes. And myself, President Clark, vote yes. So, what is that, 5-2? Okay, so we'll be able to bring that back up. Okay, all right, so I would like to.
2 years from now.
No. So at this time, I would like to turn the floor over to Trustee McIntyre for the Academics Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda.
Excuse me. I'm gonna take a book shit.
I would like to call the Academics Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Ms. Fields for the academics presentation. Ms. Fields, with your permission, would it be okay to put this in the next meeting, or no?
Absolutely, if the board please. Do that this evening, I have no problem with that.
I mean, I just wanted to make, if there's anything pressing, it's just,
It's an update on the MDE presentation that we did a couple weeks ago, so it's our mid-year review and has just data that's in there, and I have, if you'd like to put it off for this evening, I don't have a problem with that.
Will we put it next week?
Madam Chair.
Till next week?
Just want to be clear that as long as we are given a update every month to the board, so it has to happen in the next meeting if it's postponed from this one.
Yep.
It needs to take place next week. Just let you know.
is that okay with the board?
Do we conduct a vote with that, or is it just? Yeah,
I
nay?
object.
Well, it's on your agenda, so I would.
Correct, all right,
I would
so,
think
Conduct a vote? Okay, so
She chair.
we're gonna,
we need to-
oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
So, I would need a motion.
Academics presentation until the next meeting.
It's been moved and supported to move the academics presentation to the next meeting. Is there any discussion?
Nope, just to make sure, we're gonna make sure we get it done next week, so that's all I had.
Absolutely,
No, it's late.
I'm just starting to not feel good at all. So apologies to Ms. Fields. I know that you have a scintillating presentation ready, and
I'm looking forward to sharing with you.
I'm looking forward to hearing it, so.
So can I,
Yep.
point of information, can we make sure that that's kind of like up in the agenda, like and not all the way down at the end? Is that possible?
Yeah,
So we can put it. Okay.
It can be the first presentation of the
So we can get that out the way. Is that okay, Ms. Fields?
Yeah, that would be
Not a problem,
everyone's
sir.
first presentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, any other comments? All right, seeing that there's no other comments, I'll take a roll call vote to do the presentation at the next meeting. Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
President McNeil?
Yes.
Vice President Clack?
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford?
Yes.
Treasurer Luna?
Yes.
Trustee King?
No.
And myself, Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre, yes. So we have, it passes 6 yes to 1 no. Thank you, Ms. Fields. Seeing no further business, I declare the Academics Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor back over to President McNeil. Time of adjournment, 9:21.
Okay, so now we have come to the part of the meeting where the board members give remarks. Do any board members have any remarks before we adjourn?
I'll give brief remarks.
Okay.
Brief. Keyword brief. I get frustrated almost every meeting that I come to, and that's just the nature of how democracy works, because I think things move too slow, or sometimes comments are not needed or questions aren't needed. But I just want to encourage myself and my colleagues that it's so easy to get frustrated, to get caught in these episodes of being angry and expressing your angriness, your frustration, without providing solutions or engaging your colleagues before the meeting, at the meeting, to get what you want accomplished. There's folks on this board aren't my best friends. There's some folks on this board I would love to have lunch with, and that's just reality of it. But I do my best to treat everyone at this body with respect when I chair a meeting. I slipped up a couple times, but also I want to build that relationship so we can get things done that are important to us all. I know it's not fun calling folks or reaching out to them, but we have to really engage in decorum outside and in this meeting, whether it be emails, whether it be phone calls, whether it be text messages. Sometimes you have to make the first move and give the first olive branch. It's not easy, but I would just say, just please do it, because we have so much going on, as you can see from earlier, that we have to address. And if we're gonna focus on these minute issues, we're gonna lose focus of these larger issues, and all lose: students, staff, teachers, and communities. That's it.
Anyone else? Trustee Rutherford?
For me, I think it's important that we speak our own narrative. We are truly a victim of not having your own narrative out there, because if you don't say anything, people will say whatever it is that they choose to say. I just think that we have a lot ahead of us. It's gonna take good leadership. Being a good leader is being a servant, not a dictator. It's yielding when you need to yield. It's asking for help when you need help. And holding individuals accountable, it is not an attack. It's just accountable. So I ask each of us to hold each other accountable. If something is wrong, tell that person it's wrong. Talk to them. No one's on this board is anyone else's child. We're all adults. But what I'm asking, and I'm saying this specifically so that everyone can hear it at the same time, is that we work together. It's 7 of us. We work together. We did it last year, and I would like for it to continue, to work together. Do I like everyone on this board? No, but I respect everyone on this board. Do everyone on this board like me? I highly doubt it. But you will respect me, because I'm going to respect you. Because what's important is these teachers, these kids in this district. That's what's important to Melody at all times. Melody can set aside Melody's feelings when it comes to this district. So I challenge my colleagues to do the same thing. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, President Clack.
Trustee King.
I'll only say that I appreciate our scholars being able to go to the Dakota trip. That was a wonderful presentation, Ms. Fields. Thank you for bringing that to us. I would like to see more student achievement celebrations at our board meetings. We've been starting to do it, but I think it's important whether we can highlight student achievement, student progress, anything about our scholars completing heights. I would like to see whether it's an update, a monthly update, like what have our scholars been doing? What's the awesome achievements we could be showcasing at our board meetings? 'Cause I think it's important to use our platform to showcase the positive things going on in our district, regardless of disagreements. I think it's important to make sure student outcomes and student accomplishments is at our forefront. And the way I see how it's been at our forefront, whether it's a presentation, a memo, presented at our board meeting. Thanks.
I'm going to say something. Okay. I just want to say thank you, board, for giving our team an opportunity. We've been working really hard, and I just want to affirm this team over here to my right, and also the team to my left, for the hard work you're doing behind the scenes, the presentations you put together, the partnership, the HR work, the PR work, Ms. Cleaves for being in charge while I was out, and working together with the team to ensure that the work is complete, and also our executive assistant as well. I just wanted to affirm you all tonight. It is a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes, and thank you, board, for your support. We stand with you, and we're going to continue to stand with you with the work that we have ahead. We're going to sit at every table possible to make sure that we're standing together, speaking the same language to do the work that we have ahead. So thank you.
Anyone else? All right, I'll take a few seconds. First, I would like to thank Trustee Relaford, because that was her suggestion that we move the presentation up on the agenda for next week.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Second, I would like to thank all of the teachers that showed up today to voice your opinion. Went a long way, but I want you to know that we still are working, want to work with you all to write you, to make you right. Many of you are my former coworkers, the teachers. Many of you are my friends. Hopefully, what was presented here tonight is a step in the right direction to making you whole, or at least putting a Band-Aid on the wound. Also, I'd like to thank Ms. Fields and Dr. Sullivan for your efforts in the school trip and the presentation to South Dakota. Also, shout out to my cousin Jada for attending the trip. And I don't want the public to forget about our efforts to reduce the debt and the reason why we went to Washington, D.C. Okay, we still have works in progress, to eliminate our debt and to make put our district in a better situation. When it comes to reallocating funds towards the programs, the federal programs. So I think that we all need to, still think in the same direction. We're going in the right direction. So I think if we put all these moving parts together, our district will be okay. I just wanted to put that out there. That's pretty much all I had to say. Anyone else? Secretary Perkins.
Yeah, I just want to go on record saying that we didn't go to Washington for a vacation.
Exactly.
Or a fun trip. We went as advocates for funding for public schools. And I want to say that. And we had a lot of insinuations because that was opportunity. But they were wrong. It's real simple. We were warriors for advocacy for public schools, which will help them if what we did goes through. That's all.
Okay. That it? Dr. Joyce?
I would just like to make my final remarks about the Washington, D.C. trip. It was not a field trip. It was 2 days of intensive training. I meant from 9 to 5, 2 days. And they had prepared us to talk on 6 points one of the things we learned to do, that you have to work with both sides. So it was nonpartisan. they agreed to 16 that Republican and Democrat agreed on. And those 6 things are what we're dealing with throughout the district and other states. I want to thank the team that you prepared those answers to those questions very, very well. We got a lot of good remarks on how we address those questions. The senators in Congress already knew what the question was. They was looking how prepared we was. A lot of school districts wasn't even prepared. They was going to ask them, where did you guys get that information from? How did you get this? And our board member, Mr. Clack, and it was one of the districts out of New Jersey, we took the time and showed them what we got, what we had, and took them with us and traveled around so she can go back and take her, that information to her board. It was new, it was a lot of hiccup in it, but it was something, that was one of the vision I had, that we get to the point where board members know how to advocate for the district. While the administration is working on the back end, we should be out there advocating. I want to let you know, as the president of this board, I have gotten response, and they are listening, and we show unity. I want to really thank the 2 men, Teray King, Michael Clack. They did a remarkable job representing the district as well as taking care of the females that's on the board. But we got a good remark. They look good, they spoke well, they stayed on those 6 points, and it shows up by you getting phone calls. So the queue was gonna come tonight, but it was too I told him what it was gonna be, and he's gonna come back Wednesday to talk to the public what we did in Washington, D.C. It was a lot of work. We won't have that many hiccups because now we're in the system. So I want to thank the board, I want to thank the district and the administration, because Mr. Jones, we rocked with those questions, and I left some with other districts so they could see what it was that they was looking for. They didn't even have the information, and they are board members, and they asking us where we got it from. We said we got it from our superintendent. So I just want to thank everybody.
Trustee Rutherford. Trustee.
I would truly be remiss if I didn't add to what Trustee McNeil said. Melody spoke in D.C., and Melody got a lot of response based on what Melody said, even though I wasn't supposed to speak. So I just need to make sure that everyone understands, allow individuals to speak, because you never know what a person is going to bring to the table. Thank you.
I got one more, I'm sorry. I'm really quickly. I think now that we have 2 school closures announced in 2 years, Nethercutt and ALA.
Pierce.
Well, Pierce isn't this year, though. Pierce is in several months, and we've already been meeting with them. I think we should continue those sessions with community members, in particular the neighborhoods and neighborhood associations. I know one meets in this building every week, Evergreen Block Watchers, but just to begin that engagement. And the fact that we have 2 more years gives us more opportunity to work with the City of Flint's planning department, those neighborhood groups, and just the community around these buildings to make sure that they don't become blight and a nuisance to their neighborhood. That's it. I'm done for real now.
Okay. All right. Seeing no further business. Oh, I'm sorry. The Board of Education will hold its regular board meeting on Wednesday, February 21st, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. here at Accelerated Learning Academy. Seeing no further business, I declare the Board Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned at 9:34 p.m.